Destiny 2. Last week was the big unveiling. There'd been, the logo reveal and stuff before that. What did you think of that reveal, Miller?
I thought it was a really good reveal. I thought that they did a good job of talking about some of the most important things that game needs to do, and they showed off distinct areas of play, even if the distinct areas of play were mostly the elements of play that weren't problems before. And if I was to say one thing that the event didn't do as well as it maybe could have is have their examples that they showed off and they let people play illustrate the same things that they were talking about in the event. And what I mean by that is that they talked about the idea of like a clan system and guided games and the way that was going to work. They talked about the idea that the locations were going to have more storytelling to them and more opportunities for exploration and that kind of thing. And those elements are really important, and the reveal event didn't necessarily go in depth on that stuff. Now, that said, it's just a first look, right? Like, that's not what the final game's going to be. It's just their first opportunity to let people play. And it was an ambitious way to show off the game. You had hundreds of people there.
It might have been close to 1,000. It was packed.
Really? So you were actually there. You got to play it at this event.
Yeah, I went to the event. Yes, it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, like I wasn't quite. I mean, it was an airplane hangar. You know what I mean? Wow. Like, and so it was huge. It was it was fun. It was a really electric room because everyone there was either, like there was a few journalists, like I was in the group of journalists, there were maybe 20 of us, but the rest of it were, streamers and just other people kind of involved with the which I think is a great community, the Destiny community, right? Like
an amazing community. Yeah.
And they were hype. I mean, they were really excited to see. I mean, like every time anyone walked by, like Deej or anyone, they were, yeah! I mean, and like the timer could not move fast enough. There was a lot of excitement.
What was like the tiniest detail that the crowd reacted to during the conference? Like, because there's so many small details they trickled out. Was there just one nerdy tidbit that the crowd got a huge reaction to?
I thought there was a big reaction when the golden gun fired up.
And the sweeper bot.
I thought that.
The sweeper bot was
totally
cool.
right. That's
so the
one.
sweeper bot's one of my favorite things, actually, because so a little explanation here, please. Ben. There's a like a robot that's in the tower who's always sweeping, and at one point the sweeper bot lost their broom during the Halloween event and was really sad about it and like would make a big fuss about it, like, where's my broom? I cannot find my broom. Have you seen my broom? So it was like, I think that catapulted the sweeper bot into fandom's hearts.
I mean, he's just down a corner. So as soon as they go talk to the speaker, and you go down that hall, it's kind of like, we're loading some stuff.
And he's just always
and the crowd just like, yeah.
and so, but yeah, in Destiny 2, when you come across the sweeper bot, everything is destroyed in the tower, right? Like all your weapons and armor is destroyed.
Beach
all the people
destroyed everywhere.
Yeah, all the people who are normally in their places are gone. And yet you come across this one spot where the sweeper bot is there, still sweeping.
That's amazing.
Surrounded by dead Cabal.
And as we learned, we asked Luke Smith in that rapid fire interview back in Taken King, he is paid with batteries.
Yes.
He does get some sort of payment for his work sweeping at the tower.
So that made me happy. So I get that. I also thought people got really excited about in the Zavala trailer that they opened up with, there's a scene where you get to see one of the old battles that happened in the city where they were fighting the Fallen, and then it cuts at one point to them, to Zavala, and then other Titans who are important in the lore that he's hanging out with.
It's the first time they've really shown that.
About that. Well, they've never really shown stuff down in the city, and so that was cool. It kind of alluded to some aspects of the lore.
That's the Battle of Twilight Gap.
I think it was 6 fronts, if I had to guess.
Oh, so you're right, because that's the one with just the Titans, right?
Yeah. But
I don't pay this much attention to lore. I shoot people in the head with a gun.
But
you played thousands of hours of this game, Andy.
Yeah, I played. You don't know how many games I played thousands of hours of, and I have no idea what the lore is. First of all, I did not read any grimoire cards, just so you know. Not a single one.
That's a mistake.
Well, people say that, but you know what? Maybe you shouldn't have put it on a card that I got to go on the internet and check out.
Well, that again, one of the things they're doing.
Yes.
They're trying to put that stuff in the game, so they say.
Even like with the reveal, it seems like they're hitting personality and story, putting it so much more front and center than it was in the original Destiny. I mean, just the key art. The characters have faces and eyes now, and they're telling jokes. It's like taking that Cade sensibility and kind of spreading it out over the entire game.
They're giving you an opportunity to meet them. Do you know what I mean? And spend time with them instead of just like walking up and going like, "What's my mission? Here's your mission. Yeah. Okay, bye."
I think one of the big takeaways for me for the reveal event is that they had a good sense of what they needed to show off and get their community excited and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's great. I think the big challenge from here until launch is going to be finding ways to speak to everybody else. And that's hard for any franchise, right? Like, how do you take an existing property that's really hot for a certain number of people, even a large number of people? I mean, there's millions and millions of Destiny players, but you always want to be growing, right? Destiny 2 is built from the ground up around growing that audience. I mean, it's not like it doesn't speak to returning players, but most of the changes that they're making in terms of streamlining subclasses and giving more flexibility to the weapon types and making the clan system easier for solo players to join in on group activities. All of these things are built to get more people in the door. And the challenge for Activision and Bungie in the next few months is going to be, how do we communicate that message to a bunch of people out there who've already written Destiny off as not their game?
Yeah. So here's my evolution of watching the reveal event. It's like I played a ton of Taken King in particular. Really enjoyed it. Saw the Destiny 2 event. I was looking forward to Destiny 2, but it wasn't tip of my tongue type of thing. But saw that, got excited. I thought like that opening mission they showed, it's like, oh, this is a crazy set piece. This looks like a Halo mission or something. This looks fantastic. And then after the event, thinking about it more, watching more footage, I kind of fell into that. There's a rise, I think, in the internet discussion about it, of people saying more and more like, maybe this is just Destiny 1.5. And the more I think about it, it's like, okay, same classes, same enemies, some new locations, you're still on Earth overall. But, I mean, even that Nessus place, it kind of just looks like the Black Garden, doesn't it?
But I think that's Miller's point, what he started with, is that they showed us familiar pieces. I mean, the Crucible map was a new game and everything like that. But, I mean, like, it was... Here, just do Crucible all on its own in like a singular kind of silo, right? And the thing that they're talking about with Destiny 2 that makes it interesting is the way they talk about, by the way, which I haven't seen, you know what I mean? Like, this is the interesting part of like engaging in the world, making those public spaces more interesting, drawing people to the events, getting people engaged. I mean, I think that was the one thing I felt consistent, like with anyone with Destiny 1, when I was like, this game's great. Play it. Okay, you got to level up, and maybe I'll help you some, but when you're done, then I'm going to show you how this game starts after you get to the max level, right? This is when it starts. And then it would be try to show people raids and try to like get them engaged in that kind of content that's post. And it was hard. There were a lot of people that fell off there and they didn't get a chance to see it or get engaged with it. And I think that's always been their biggest barrier for Destiny 1 and for Destiny 2 is to get people to that next level, to have them not only be led to that content, but get a chance to engage in that content. I think guided games helps that. I mean, it's basically Group Finder. Do you know what I mean? That you can go in and just like make a group with a tool, because I kind of asked, I was like, do you need to have 3 people in a guild to be able to pick up other people? I mean, could it be one person who just finds 5 other solo people that could create that group? And they weren't entirely crazy about answering that questions, but essentially, I think in some way, shape, or form, you can just create groups. It's not matchmaking, but they're going to make it so you can make groups. And I think that's one step. I think it empowers Sherpas to be able to get people into content. I mean, that was how I saw some content. I'm not the greatest PvP player. I'm definitely above average, but the Lighthouse was very hard for me to get to. One of the things that I think is interesting about that is that them changing everything to 4v4 and all the content to 4 is an interesting like fire team change. Like that's the one that's like I find most interesting and also kind of like concerning, at least for me.
That's all modes. That's not just the one they showed.
All PvP modes are 4v4.
It's okay. That's interesting. Just want to make it a little more personal, a little more strategic. Like they have a lot more icons on the screen, and also a detail I love is they name each area, and then they show the name of that area on the map, so you can easily coordinate with teams. It's so smart.
The PvP system is much more readable. Just across the board. From audio cues. I mean, this is hard to pick up at the event, but I think the time that I had the opportunity to like visit Bungie and play a lot of that same content, and in a more maybe quiet setting, it was a little easier to tell like some of the ways they've changed audio cues and built the UI at the top of the screen to just more clearly communicate what's happening in the match. All that stuff is built around like both for the players and also for people watching. I mean, there's a lot of people at this point who watch Destiny, right? Like just like any other game these days. And I think they're catering to that audience to a certain degree of saying, we want somebody who's watching their favorite streamer put this up online. We want them to be able to understand what's happening in a given game.
Yeah.
But the 4v4 thing that Andy's talking about, I think is interesting because there is a dynamic in the current way that people play the game where there's a natural structure of like multiples of 3, either groups of 3 or groups of 6 are able to move pretty seamlessly between almost any activity. This structure breaks that a little bit. It says that like if I finish what we presume is going to be a 6-person raid.
It's a presumption, though. We don't know.
No, we don't know.
Does that mean 8-person raid is a possibility, or
we don't know? They have not talked about raids really at all. But if you do that, or for that matter, if you're doing a 3-person strike, let's say, there really isn't a seamless flow into group finding and PvP, right?
Yeah.
There always is going to be a mismatch there, which I'm a little bit concerned about.
I mean, that was something we do. Like when you had 3 friends online, you were playing. You're like, man, I cannot do another strike. Hey, you want to go do some PvP? Sure. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like you were just kind of, you still got to hang out with your friends, and this is a forced change in that is big. And I also think too, like I talked to Miller and Wade about it. Also, like 4v4 changes like PvP in a lot of ways. In that, like, I mean. When it was 6v6, I only had to carry 1/6 of the team. Like, you know what I mean? In 4v4, I'm responsible for 25% of like the team's success. You know what I mean? I'm breaking it down in pretty simple numbers, but I mean, that's a lot more pressure and responsibility in a match. I mean, like, there's one thing to be like, hey, I'm going to play with these guys who are really good. I'll cover you in the back. You know what I mean? And like, make sure I'm kind of, keeping some suppressing fire, let's say, in the match. In this case, 4v4. This is a lot tighter combat, right? I mean, it does force the issue in particular. Now, that said, like Trials was always fun because it was 3v3 and it was that, like you were going to find yourself in like 2v1 and it mattered a lot if you could pull it off. And I did pull it off every once in a while. I'm not entirely horrible, but like, it's a lot more pressure. Where in 6v6, there's enough time, like in a spawn timer, to get more people back into the fray and keeps the groups battle a little bit more balanced. So it's a different game. I mean, it is indeed a different game with 4v4. I feel.
I mean, your last sentiment there, Andy, is I think the biggest mismatch between what has become the public conversation about Destiny 2 in the last week and what my perception of it has been during my time, which is to say that you reflected that perception, right? That there's a lot of people who are like, this kind of feels just like another expansion to Destiny, or like maybe this is Destiny 1.5. The time that I have played the game and the time that I have talked to the developers has not communicated that to me at all.
Is it all coming through details, or you think there's just big reveals yet to come that are going to be drastically different?
Maybe it's just my perception. I mean, maybe this is just me, but in my mind, some of the changes that they are making are very fundamental changes. You wouldn't want them to change like, well, we have some of the best gunplay that any FPS has ever done on consoles. So we're going to change that and we're going to make this a third-person melee game. And I mean, no. Like, this is going to be a follow-through of what Destiny has done well and try to resolve and streamline things that weren't as good, right? And I feel like that the changes that they are making, the new weapon types really change the PvP experience a lot. They change how I think about going through a battle in PvE experiences. There's a greater focus on like weapon switching and constantly having this kind of dynamic feel to battles, and forcing you to like, oh, I'm out of ammo on this one weapon, I need to move to this other thing. There's
the talent trees are different.
The talent trees are like the subclass stuff is really different. Like it sacrifices customization opportunities in the name of giving people optimal ways to enjoy and experience the classes. That's going to be liked by some people and not liked by other people, but it still comes back to the fact that this game feels very different, right? To me.
Those are all so specific, though. I agree, like, for the Destiny fans, but I think from the outside perspective, they look in and say, okay, who are you fighting? Who are the bad guys? It's the Cabal. Oh, those are those big fat guys on Mars?
No, you're totally right. I mean, I think that top layer, the cake looks the same.
Yes.
But, I mean, the mix is very much different.
Bite into it, you'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll see,
that's, I mean, and by the way, as someone who's a huge fan of the original, I mean, I'm concerned that they ruined my chocolate cake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I loved what I played there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I loved what I played there. And I've had some conversations, not as much as Miller has, but about the game. And some things you go like, okay, yeah, I mean, that could work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions. That said, I mean, I left my pre-E3 week, and the game that I'm most excited for right now, as far as like around this kind of E3 stuff, is Destiny 2. I mean, I can't wait to try this cake. And if it's delicious, oh boy, this is going to be fantastic, right? But I do think there's certainly, I'm not going in without concerns, and I'm not going in without like a wait and see approach. But I mean, like, let's talk about some things here. I mean, Bungie's got a pretty good track record of like doing things really well, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing too, I think like there's some behind the scene things that they can do that make this game better. You know, like even if like it is, let's just make the assumption that the internet is right and it's Destiny 1.5. If they just make it where it's easier for them to make more content and deliver more content in a faster pace and do more events and create the world and make it more vibrant, like that's a way better game. Like that's a significantly better game rather than waiting 17 months for SLR racing or SLR.
Totally. But even with like the Rise of Ironcover story, they were big on like, we've got a whole separate live team now. We're trying to nail this entire format. I mean, do we have the sense that they have completely changed the back end and the entire pipeline?
I spoke with them and asked them very specifically, do you want to talk about what's lying beyond, how you're going to avoid content droughts and things like that in post-release? And they just don't want to talk about that stuff yet. My sense, and this is not like, oh gosh, Bungie, I'm spoiling some secret that Bungie has told me. I don't know. But my sense is very much that Destiny 1's, like just the architecture of how they could put together that game and what was involved with creating new content had a lot of challenges to it.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that by going back and resetting everything, by not having to carry over stuff from Destiny 1 and being able to just say like, yeah, we're going to build this system from the ground up. I think they know the way that they need to be able to build content now to satisfy their audience. And I have to imagine that Destiny 2 is going to do a better job of addressing those needs.
I mean, they didn't have that much time. They're still on the treadmill from hell for getting this thing out. So how much can they change?
Well, they started on Destiny 2 a pretty long time ago. I mean, I think that the game has been in the works for a while, and
I think almost 2 years ago, I had a friend say, off the record that he had played some of Destiny. I mean, it's been. It's been a long time.
I mean, so leads from Taken King, Mark and Luke, and so in theory they were shifted directly over to it. But I'm sure something was in the works even before then. It's not like that's even the starting line necessarily. Right. And who knows how much stuff was pulled from Destiny 1 and like, let's save this for the big second outing here.
Yeah, it's hard to know. But yeah, I mean, I think if they can address those the needs of a live community of players that want to play their game on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, even not just week-to-week, and see new things coming out, I'm very confident that there's going to be an increased effort to speak to that stuff. The other thing that I would say about Destiny 2 is that like I'm very much in Andy's camp that there are things about this game that I'm in a wait and see mode about because I haven't seen enough of it to really make a judgment about like things like that 4v4 decision, or does this change to kinetic energy and power weapons? Do I really like that more than primary, special, and heavy? Is that good? It felt good initially, but it's not clear. But I will say that Bungie is very, very intentional in their choices. If there's anything that has come out of the many conversations that I've had with the creative leads at Bungie, it's that they make decisions that are fueled by very particular goals, right? The move to those weapon types, the move to 4v4 in competitive, are things that they talk about over and over again, and they debate with each other, and they look at the user data, and then they make a decision. this is what's best for this game. And moreover, you've got that team, that lead team of Luke and Mark, who at this point are an experienced partnership of creators with each other, and they are insistent on this kind of like no compromises approach to design. They would rather rip something out of the game that is okay than put it in. And so everything in Destiny 2, in their minds anyway, is going to be like at that line of being like, we really think this is good. We really think this is the way that it should be. And so when Destiny 2 comes out, I think it will very much speak to the vision of what those Bungie creators want it to be. And then it'll be up to fans to kind of be like, well, that may be what Bungie wants it to be, but this isn't what we want it to be. Or they're going to love it.
Yeah, and things too. I think they've listened in the past. I mean, I think Destiny 1 changed a lot over the period. So, I mean, like, this is their first, shot. Like, this is what they've come up with. This is what they think is best. And I think they will listen to the community if there are changes. And maybe there are none. I think there it very well could be that, hey, this was the way to do it. This makes the game more competitive. I've certainly always wanted competitive Destiny to be kind of more of an esport. I would love to watch more of it, to see more like of the pros playing, other than just like watching some guy stream. And then like it was even like, oh, we're doing sweaties. It's like, what are you doing? And like just all the tools that they lack to like create and be and compete with the best. So I'm for that. I want to see that. I hope it's not at the sacrifice of like the fun of PvP that I had, right? And like the fun I had playing with my friends, which is I think very much at the core of why Destiny is fun. So it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, I'll tell you, I sat down. I didn't sit down. I guess I stood up. I got the controller in my hand, started playing, and like the guns feel so good. I think the world looks. I think it looks better than I thought it was. I think the first time I talked to Mill, he goes like, "Yeah, it looks better." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Nah, this looks way better."
You were playing on a PS4 Pro, right?
Yeah, I was playing on a PS4 Pro.
Okay, and I think I played on 60,
and I played it on PC as well.
Okay.
There's a lot of argument that it runs at 30 frames on console, but I don't know. I mean, like
Pro. Okay.
I mean,
it does. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh wow.
But I mean, and on PC, I mean, it looks amazing on PC. I mean, you can really tell that the engine is flying on there. But I mean, it feels good. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that the characters are more involved to me makes it interesting. The planets look the same. I think they do a great job of like making worlds that are fun to be in. And I felt, even whatever may have felt familiar, I thought it was pretty great. I'm really excited to see things like when they say things like the public spaces are going to be bigger, more interesting, and have more things going on. Like, I had a lot of fun in the public space. I hated it when I got like really lame quests and I sat there and like, farmed a herb, for hours on end, right?
Wait, what?
Like, that was not fun.
Come on, farmed a herb.
Yeah.
Come on, keep up, Wade.
I don't know whatever they called the like.
I mean,
whatever
you
thing
had to do some of that stuff, Wade, right? Like
farming herbs.
Well, you had to go find a particular material.
Yeah,
you
had to get helium.
There were
something.
0 herbs, though.
Like that.
All right, hot shot.
It's the same crap.
Thing.
It's the same crap.
Well,
it's like,
what I want to know is, how did the shotgun feel in the heavy slot? Did that work for you guys?
You want to explain why this is a radical change?
Okay,
here?
so this is one of those things that speaks to that idea that like I really think this game feels very different, which is that like shotguns and snipers have moved out of that second slot and into what they now call power ammo. So it is competing for that slot with things like grenade launchers, right?
Did they make them more powerful then because of that?
Well, they're pretty. Yeah, I mean, I think it let them take the gloves off with shotguns and sniper rifles and just make them really, really awesome. Which has always been kind of a dilemma. Those two weapons in particular.
Yeah,
in
shotguns really haven't been killing people, or sniper rifles haven't really been
but
killing
that's
people.
my point.
I mean, it's like,
right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the problem in D1 has frequently been the competitive game has migrated to either like a shotgun meta or a sniper meta for certain periods because they're so awesome and people who are good with them just wreck.
Yeah.
The idea, they have increasingly moved the PvP game away from that special ammo focus thing, which I think sort of has intimated the direction they're going with Destiny 2. That's very purposeful on their part. But now it's there. Like Destiny 2, we are at the end point of that evolution. And shotguns, sniper rifles, down in power ammo. And when you get power ammo in a competitive match, you get it just for you. You don't get it for your nearby teammates. With old heavy ammo in Destiny 1, you just need it to get to the spot where the heavy ammo spawns, hold the spot, protect it from the enemy team that's going to try to like come and super you. And then if you got it, you all got it. And that was like a press win button.
It was pretty great when you got it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it came down to. I mean, it was like everyone's got rockets and machine guns.
And if the other team managed to turn it around at that point, that was like, oh wow, they really got us, right?
Yeah.
At this point, when you get power ammo, are you getting grenade launcher ammo, or are you going to get your shotgun, right? That makes the choice to carry a shotgun a complicated one, I think.
Weird. Wade, where's your overall excitement for this game?
I just wanted to say real quick with regard to the PvP thing, 4v4 is really hard because I feel like they're trying to, in some weird way, go back to their Halo style, which was 4v4 matches.
Yep.
You'd think they would at least try and split the difference between what they had and trying to appease the Halo crowd, their Halo fans.
So you're saying they should have gone 5v5?
No. What I mean is options.
Give me a pen and paper.
All right. Here's the
have a
game type
graph.
that's 4v4. Here's the game type you can do that 6v6 or 3v3, like, those kind of options. Because I have friends that I'd play Halo 4v4 matches with, and Destiny came out, we adapted. We would just like do 6v6 matches, or only 3 of us are on now. That's okay. We can group together. But now it's kind of in this weird place.
The 4v4 decision, they have a excellent justification for it. Like they talk about it from an angle of like, this is the kind of classic competitive experience. We want it to feel more like a true classic competitive video game experience. It does demand a little bit more teamwork, I think, and communication, especially in like the new match type countdown that they are showing off. Now, that said, without actually saying anything about it, the other elephant in the room is the fact that they are not doing dedicated servers again.
Yeah.
Which for some players in the community of Destiny, that is a very, very big deal. Whether it factored into decision making or not, we will never know.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, in my mind, very likely that a 4v4 match is better to is easier to optimize for as far as matchmaking than a 6v6 match.
And that does make a lot of sense.
Now, again, that is not that's not Bungie's stance on it.
But
that's not why they're saying that they did that. But that's what I think.
Yeah.
My argument back to that was that like a large player pool solves all those problems, right? And if everyone's playing and having fun, then you have plenty of people and you can do great matchmaking. I mean, matchmaking falls apart when there's less people.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And improves when there are more people playing around the globe and in your area, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that. It'll be interesting to see, like as they remove the one and kind of go with the other, because that also concerns me. Like when you say that, Miller, I mean, it makes me cringe a little bit, and it's not your fault for saying it, you know what I mean? Because it's the truth, kind of thing. But like it's like we want it to be more of a classic competitive, PvP feel, and it's like, well, I've got lots of games that do that. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things I liked about Destiny was, if I was having a rough match and I couldn't shoot anybody in the head, and we've all had those. Like, man, I'm way off, and then you just went like, oh, that's right, I have hammers. You know what I mean? And and just kind of like blow some people up, and it's like, oh, that felt good, and like every once in a while I'll make a good play, and like there was fun things that could happen. I mean, there's times when I was on fire and we were rolling people, and that's great too. But I'm just talking about the times when like it didn't have a classic feel. It gave me times when like, hey, I didn't do it, but we managed to get the heavy ammo, and I've got a machine gun, and I can mow people down with a machine gun when they don't have a machine gun, right? Like that was fun. Yeah. Right? I mean, there was something fun to that. I mean, I know maybe not the most balanced thing in the world, but I had a lot of fun with that. I used to go hardcore on PvP some weeks. Iron Banner, I would just sit and play because it was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a good, entertaining PvP experience, and I hope that continues.
Well, with the, in theory, going back a little bit more to the Halo roots, any word on vehicles? The thing they've slowly just been pushing out of the Destiny experience.
There's like one mode in Crucible in Destiny 1 that has vehicles, I think.
They removed it.
Yeah, they did remove it.
But it came back in Iron Banner recently, I thought, because I've played it.
They did flirt with kind of bringing that in and out of the game, but like the way that it was at game launch, where it was like, we've totally got maps that have vehicles on them. They got away from that pretty quickly, and felt like it just wasn't there. And we haven't seen too much yet about what they're doing this time around with vehicles.
There's that giant tank in the trailer.
There is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can have. I mean, they kept them as a mode, but you had to like dig to get to them. Like it wasn't surfaced in like any kind of like.
And with
random
custom
game.
matches, you could bring them back.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I mean, there was a way to do it, but it was. I mean,
For a while, they were totally gone. I
They
think.
were totally gone.
Mm.
Or it would show up as like one of the weekly PvP modes that would have them and bring it back. And you're like, well, not playing that this week.
Yeah, I remember talking to Lars, multiplayer lead, every time we went to Bungie, and the stance was always like, we'd love to bring them back. We want to do it right. Now's not the time. It's still in the oven. Yeah. That beautiful cake of vehicles is still in the oven.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Destiny 2 is the time to take it out of the oven or we're waiting for Destiny 3.
We don't know yet.
I didn't answer the question, sorry, about what I'm most excited about. I've had many a conversation with Miller, not so much Andy, about the lore and story of Destiny. So I'm sorry, Andy.
It's all right.
But my favorite part of Destiny is the stories in the grimoire, basically.
Favorite part?
Yeah. The stories that are not told in the game are my favorite part. Because
of the game.
Yeah.
You just like to bring them up in conversation and go, oh, did you know?
Didn't you know about the space dragon?
I would with Miller. I would with Miller, but he already knows everything about the grimoire. But it's some of the best sci-fi that I've read is in the grimoire.
What the hell are you talking about? Really?
I mean, Miller? Am I wrong? There's good sci-fi.
There's good sci-fi.
There's acceptable sci-fi in there, right, Miller?
I think there's good sci-fi. I'm not sure for me personally.
Doled out one card at a time.
The best sci-fi I've ever encountered.
I'm not saying it's the best, but
it's like saying baseball cards are your favorite sports fiction of all time.
Now, in defense of Wade, though, I do think there is genuinely some very good, very cool world building and fiction that goes on in those grimoire cards and in the Book of Sorrow stuff. Yeah. And as a lore enthusiast myself, I can't say that I do not object at all to the idea of taking that stuff out of a website and putting it in game. What I worry about is losing it. Like I worry that depth of world building that they had because of the grimoire, that they won't find the way to actually translate that over into the game
because you're too busy cracking jokes and just showing up personality.
Well, there's nothing wrong with humor and like having good adventure driven storytelling. I want that there too. I'm just saying that like they have said, and I have to at this point take them at their word, that they're trying to transfer that depth of fiction and lore to things like scannable objects in the world and the characters you meet in the actual destinations that you go to. And I really hope that that's true. I would love for that element of the game, which Wade and I and many other kind of enthusiasts really like about the game, to let the rest of the community in on that secret.
Well, I remember
but I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, they also said that with Rise of Iron, right? And there was the one Iron Banner person that was kind of like a historian. Help me out, lore nerds. And they said, oh, she'll be like telling the stories.
Yeah,
from
what's
the
her
past.
name?
Tyra Karn.
Okay.
For the like 3 story missions that were in that.
Well, no, but the idea is like, oh, you go talk to her, you get some details. Do you feel like they pulled it off in Rise of Iron?
There was a little bit of that, but I would say that if it was only at the level of that, of having Tyra Karn kind of like have a couple sentences in one of her narrations that gave you something,
that'd be a failure.
That would be a failure of trying to transfer the grimoire into the game. It wouldn't necessarily be a failure of Destiny 2 fundamentally. Like maybe they're just saying like, you know what, that's not a part of like our universe we want to keep
which
going.
is the biggest shame of all time.
I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but
if
it
they
could
do,
be what they're doing.
I will never forgive them if they don't. If they don't do justice to what they've already written. It's like they tilled the soil, they got the fertilizer, and then they're like, let's just scrap all that farm field. We're not going to plant anything.
Yeah,
this foundation is so strong there.
On the high level, looking at it, it seems like almost like taking King again, where it's like there's a good core where it's a very visual representation of like, hey, this Cabal ship has landed on the Traveler. In theory, you can see it when you're on the Forest Earth place, right? And I just love that visual representation. And then, hey, we have another one big bad. Focus on this. So they have the option of just focusing in on those 2 very easy to understand concepts and just bypassing all this nerd stuff.
Yeah, I mean, thematically, Destiny 2 feels more focused than Destiny 1 does.
Yes.
There is a distinct conceit to their narrative about that wraps together with what players are experiencing, and I really like that. It is about the loss of things and the recovery of things.
XCOM 2.
Just like XCOM 2. I mean, when you think about like for a standard Destiny player, or even for somebody who's like super hardcore, like Andy, who wasn't necessarily like, you weren't reading the Grimoire website every day.
No.
For you, your engagement with the world of Destiny was very much tied up with your powers and your weapons and your armor.
Correct.
Right? This game is about losing all of that and having to get it back.
Oh.
And that has an emotional weight for Andy, right? Like there's a sort of fascinating thing they've done there.
Don't you think that's retrofitting because they needed to have that clean slate to move it onto PC, move it into other places?
I don't think you can say that it's like retconning something when it's the new it's what they're doing right now.
But don't you think that premise comes from technical limitations? Initially, the kernel of it?
I think every MMO in the history of making any let's say any game as service, I mean, some have come out and hit it out of the park, but most of them, you make the game and you put it out and you go like, man, we could have done these 17, 20 things differently than we did in the final game. But we had to produce it and finish it and get it out, right? And I think you're going to experience that, right? And I think like when you sit down and you go like, okay, how do we like change things around to like modify what we have? I mean, sometimes the easiest answer with that is just throw it out and just make a new one that solves the problems that you see, right? It may introduce new problems, like, just like the new talent trees, like there's less quote unquote options because once you head down a path, you're limited in what you can choose once you go down that path. But that makes it easier to balance. You know what? And like a lot of people complain about balance or like, OP builds or like other things that happen as a game. And like when you put it in the hands of millions of players, the way they solve and find things that make a game unbalanced, that makes it easier for them to fix it, to keep the game on track, to have those things work, to have items and weapons and things like that, not have so many like,
everything's a give and take there.
A give and take, yeah. I mean, so you can have, instead of like, I mean, almost with any meta, you know what I mean? There's like, okay, everyone, yes, there are thousands of guns in this game. There is only the one you want right now because it is the one that matters. It is the one that does, has the fastest time to kill, all these things. Even though there's all these choices, there's really only one, right? And all these games suffer from that one choice, right? So whatever they can do to smooth out those edges and have there be more choice, or at least choices that maybe aren't the one choice, but are the second tier, has more entries, right? If it can be 5, if it can be 10, if it can be 20 weapons, that's great. That's amazing balance if you've done that. So I think throwing out, the baby with the bathwater is okay in this case. Do you know what I mean? I think that's all right. Like they kept the core elements that I think are there, which is the gunplay. Let's see how they rebuilt it and how we get to like level our characters and go through and like, find that power in that story. And I think that's the thing too is grimoire can be great. And I mean, I heard sitting in orbit, waiting for long load screens, I heard lots of stories about the lore that I never had to read.
Going to Bungie with Miller is the most fascinating stuff. When he dives deep with some of those writers, like, I had no idea this was in that shooter game I play. It's fascinating. Maybe it's just Miller's an eloquent guy, but there is potential there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too, like a lot of the weapons, like you see in the thing, like a lot of the weapons that are part of that lore and that have stories around them or that are basically a part of that history are in this game. Like, I mean, at least are in the videos, you know what I mean? Which I think points to them wanting to keep that history there. It's just a question of how they surface it and how they do it.
They want to, that word surface is important. They want to surface things in this game for the largest majority of players that they can do that. They also use the term unhide the fun a lot, which I like.
That's good.
The strangeness of phrase of not saying reveal the fun is significant there. They are saying that there is fun there, but it is currently hidden. Right. We want to unhide it. And that's
accurate, by the way.
It is absolutely
very accurate.
There's things like exotic weapons in that game that they have data that there's lots of people who have never gotten an exotic weapon in Destiny. Lots and lots of people who've played Destiny don't have an exotic. And that's wild to someone like Wade or Andy or I.
We collected them.
Who collected dozens of them. Yeah. Who made it a point like, I'm going to get all of the exotics. There's dozens of these things and I'm going to go after each one of them. And I'm going to go on Reddit and I'm going to find out how I get this one. And I'm going to like go do this quest line to get this other one. And I'm going to wait for 8 months for a Hawk Moon to drop for this other one. Like those sorts of things is what we did. But for other people, they're like, I guess there's some guns in this game. And they never got to that point of like,
I like the automatic ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like totally. Like that, there's an entire segment of the population that is bigger than people like Wade, Andy, and I, who are like, yeah, I mean, I like the ones that I can shoot with that I just hold down the trigger.
Yeah,
I like those ones. Like, and they never see the fact that there's like these named weapons that have histories, and you have a quest line for them, and they shoot totally different from all the other ones in the game, and that's a problem. Like, that's a problem with the game.
Turn more people into nerds is the ultimate mission.
Get more people to, like, experience that fun.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before. I mean, like, one of my favorite moments in all of gaming was we knew this weapon existed. Then we heard someone had found it. We were like doing the dungeon, and it was like, oh my God, we started freaking out. I mean, we stayed up till what? We were up till like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Sorry?
Is this the OP quest?
Yeah, like
yeah, we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
just
crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, it was like insane, and we're sitting there and like trying all this stuff and just like solving it. And I didn't know all the lore behind it, at the time, but that was a lot of fun and just a super interesting quest. And just the discovery and finding of those things, or even things like, was it the Black Spindle?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's like someone beat this mission in
different
10 minutes,
way.
and you were like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, no, there's a whole other path that opens if you do this, and then you run back, and you're like, no, there is not. And then you went with your friends, you're like, holy crap, there is. And then you got to the end, and like the fight at the end is super hard, and we got totally smoked. I think
you
the
did
first
it like 10 times to get it.
It's just like, man, I can't believe someone figured this out. And then we like, spent the next couple, and that's the thing is like the story is not just that we went in there and died, it's that we spent the next 2 weeks going like, yeah, man, we got to get this thing. Are you going to level that thing up? We're going to, like when we were like sitting there planning to go back to go get Black Spindle.
When
you
the
know
next
what I mean?
day
Like,
came up that we could, yeah.
It wasn't a quest we were given. It was a quest we made.
And I think that's one of like the strongest things in Destiny is that the sense of community, like searching for these things that they've hidden in the game.
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
Outbreak Prime is like so crazy.
Yeah.
That took that level of data wrangling and community effort to bring that gun
It
out.
was built to be done that way.
Yeah.
It had to be done that way by a community. It was really, really fascinating. I'd love to see more of that stuff happen. But at the same time, find ways to...
That's the fun that people have to find. A lot of people didn't experience that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't get that.
And you can still have some of that stuff while simultaneously finding ways to, like, let's get some exotics into people's hands over the course of the game. Like, earlier, Andy was talking about the idea of, like, you had to get people through the game to get to the game, right? You had to get to the end game before you could, like, experience why Destiny was really fun.
Yeah.
Again, that's a problem,
For sure.
right? There's nothing wrong with having a bunch of stuff at the end. But you need to have things that are strung through the experience of a natural playthrough that players can be like, oh, I get why I'd want to do strikes or nightfalls or raids or whatever, because this is fun.
Okay, one more question about Destiny 2 for you, Miller. Isn't it a little weird that you're going to the moon Titan in this game? It's like if a moon was called Hunter or Warlock, like they have to acknowledge it in some way. That's a little weird.
I think you need to take to task the people who named the moons of Saturn.
Galileo, I don't know. I assume it was
or the classes of Destiny. You could take them to task too.
Well, didn't it have a different name at some point in the beginning? Don't you remember when they first unveiled Destiny? It was different.
You seem like the only person bothered by that.
No, there's a huge Reddit community. They're outraged about the name of the moon. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.